Hey everybody, it's Tanner Mulvihill. Hope you're enjoying the podcast so far. You know, every week I stress on this show the importance of asking for the business, and I wouldn't be a very good podcast host if I didn't take the opportunity to do the same. If you would consider leaving me a 5-star review on whatever platform you are listening to this show on, that would be greatly appreciated. And if you know a top real estate agent you think should be on the show, please let me know that as well. I'd love the opportunity to hear from them and tell their story. In this episode, I sat down with Todd Morton, realtor and owner of the Morton Group with Atcoast Realty in Virginia Beach. Todd shared with me the evolution of his sales career with his start at Boat Trader magazine, a blast from the past for a lot of us. How he started and grew a Facebook page he runs, which now has over 26,000 members and only one realtor. And finally, a story about a septic tank inspection that probably led to a divorce. And now, my interview with Todd Morton on the Virginia is for Realtors podcast. Well, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Virginia's for Realtors, now in our second season. I'm pleased to be joined today by Todd Morton, realtor and owner of the Morton Group with Coastal Realty. Todd, how are you today?
Excellent. Thanks for having me on, Tanner.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you on. We're going to go into your Facebook page in detail, but I've been using it pretty extensively right now. I was laughing at one of your comments earlier about the air quality right now, because for those listening to the podcast this time, we got the wildfire smoke coming in from Canada. It's like everywhere.
That's it, man. The Canadians are smoking bacon.
That's right. I wish that's what it was. Probably something else going on.
No, I kid, man. It's tough out there, man. The whole country's on fire.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. That's what we're dealing with right now. And I was mentioning to you that I just came back from a new agent orientation in Fredericksburg. Yeah. It's always neat to see the optimism and the enthusiasm and everything as agents are getting into it. And I'm sure some will be listening now. And I wish them luck on their journey, because it's a good one for a lot of people.
Yeah, 100%, man. It's a tough business to break into for sure. I think the count here in terms of agents in Hampton Roads is approaching like the 10,000 mark. So it's funny. It's tough. A lot of the old school folks who have been in it for a lot longer than I have, that's something that they're having to deal with, man. It's just there's so many of them now. Yep. So it's tough, man. And you loan guys are the same, man.
There's a lot of competition on the streets. Turns out I'm not the only loan officer. So that's how it goes. Let's start off with the journey. So what were you doing before you got into business, where you're at now, where'd you grow up, all that good stuff?
Yeah, man, I'm a Virginia Beach native is what I like to say. I've been here since like 85.
Oh, wow.
I had the luxury of going to grade school here, middle school, high school, and then have stuck around and made a life of it. So prior to real estate, which I got in 2020, I worked for numerous different companies here in Virginia Beach, but primarily I sold advertising. I worked for Wavy TV 10 for a while. I was their digital sales director, worked a couple of different local ad agencies here at the beach where we were selling a lot of digital marketing, that sort of stuff. I've spent some time at FM 99 and the Fox. I sold radio for a little bit.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. And then like a lot of people, if you grew up here and started in sales, I worked for Dominion Enterprises, which is everyone started here. They were the auto trader folks.
Man, that's a blast from the past right there.
Yeah,
Auto Trader.
Man. Yeah, man. So I got hired there. Gosh, it's probably 25 years ago now, but I worked for their Boat Trader division. And if you remember back in the day, you used to be able to like buy the magazines at like the convenience store, right?
Yep.
And they were the classified ads. Yeah, that was a huge part of their business, right? They had, Boat Trader, Cycle Trader, RV Trader, you name it, Trader. And they're about 85% of their business was those publications.
Wow.
When I started, obviously, the internet had just came out. I'm joking. Yeah, they were really making a push to do their online stuff, right? And so they were transitioning all of their field reps how to sell their online product. And so I traveled the whole Northeast and went around and to all of our field offices back then and taught these guys and gals how to sell the internet. So
okay.
It was pretty cool, man. Fast forward, it was all digital marketing pretty much for the most part for me.
It's interesting that they saw the writing on the wall because there's so many stories about people that didn't. And of course, famously Blockbuster turned down Netflix and stuff like that, which turned out to be the bad move. But the fact that they were ahead of the curve, but it's tough because when you're in the sales side, then if it's becoming all digital and online, then that's going to take out a lot of what that is.
Oh, yeah, man. It was huge, dude. So those books, they used to be really thick. You go to the store, they'd be 60, 70 pages long. And it happened quick where they just shrank to like nothing. But it was tough because we would go out and my job was to kind of transition these clients into the online product, which was about a tenth of the price that they were paying to be in these magazines. Well, the reps were all on commission. So they would be like, hey, don't mention the internet when we go talk to this guy. Hey, man, I got to, man. Like, that's what they're paying me to do.
Right.
They were never happy when I came to town. And I had the Northeast. So I was in New York, Boston, those parts of town, Jersey. They used to call me the redneck.
From Virginia Beach.
Yeah. It's like, man, I live at the beach. I'm not really a redneck, but whatever.
Right. So when you look back on kind of that sales experience that you got there, what were some of the things that you picked up that you kind of really feel has benefited you down the road?
Oh, man, gosh, so much. I got the opportunity to work for some really good organizations, Dominion Enterprises being one of them. Just had massive sales trainings from closing techniques to reading people, behavioral stuff. I mean, getting really sophisticated into sales. And then I managed sales for quite some time, teaching people how to sell and all that. But really just getting out and talking to people, I think communicating with business owners. Right. Selling advertising was tough, right? Because you were a lot of times, especially digital, we were selling air, really. Yeah, it was like, listen, just trust me, it's going to work. It's $10,000. Don't worry about how it works. Just trust me, you know?
And the funny thing is, too, when you think of like when a listing would load back in the day, it wasn't like it is now where it's just like, here's the 30 pictures. Back then, it was like a picture loads and then a picture loads. Could take a while.
Yeah, for sure. And so we were doing too when I worked probably 7 years ago. The big thing, we were selling search engine optimization, you know, and they still do it today where it's, oh, we're going to get you on page 1 of Google. It used to be really easy to do things like that, right? But it got real hard. Google got real sophisticated real quick. And so that kind of morphed into social media marketing and that kind of stuff, which has really helped me probably more so than anything in the real estate community, for sure.
So when did you decide, or what was the writing on the wall that you said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and get my real estate license? Had that always been something that was in the back of your mind? Did you work with agents that you were signing up for the ads, or like how'd that come into play?
Yeah, man. Like everybody, I started watching HGTV. Like, this is easy. No.
You only look at 3 homes. How bad can it be?
Yeah, you only got to show people 3 houses. Pick one. I actually got my license 20 years ago. At the time, I was working for Dominion Enterprises. I was newly married and my wife just got pregnant. I had just finished my real estate class. I was all gung-ho and I was like, no insurance, no steady check. Obviously made a salary at Dominion plus commission. I had health insurance, all that stuff. And I just didn't take the jump, right? I got scared. I stayed in corporate America. Fast forward 20 years almost, 2020, I got my license. My son turned 18. He graduated from high school and I was like, I'm in, I'm done. You know, obviously my license wasn't active or anything like that during that. I never kept my license active, but it was good. Think back, I joke around. I said, damn, I wish I'd have gotten to this business earlier. There's a lot of money to be made, right? And it's fun, but I don't think I would be where I'm at success-wise in real estate if I hadn't gone through the first 20 years. Just a lot of living life, doing a lot of different things. At 40, I had a wake-up call to Jesus moment, I guess, for myself. Like all salespeople, I worked hard, I played harder. Right. That was my mantra, at least. And so at 40, I was like, I was just done. I was tired of that kind of corporate rat race, the what have you done for me lately mentality, really, that a lot of folks are stuck in that world. I was just like, I'm done. I'm doing it. So I quit. I made some life changes as well. And I just dove into it, man. Full steam ahead. I didn't try to do it part-time. I see a lot of people try to go that route and I commend them. I think it's extremely hard to do this job part-time. But yeah, man, I quit my job and I dove in. And then COVID came right out. That was
right. Yeah. That time frame of the 2020, that's interesting too. When you think about it, if you had stayed on a little bit longer at the other job, then the grind of flying out to these different areas and driving these different places, that would have gone away. But it's good that you had this transition and doing because you took a lot of the skill set that you had into the real estate field that you wouldn't have been able to otherwise.
100%. 100%. I also think 20 years in corporate here locally in Hampton Roads, I met a lot of people.
Yep.
Right. And in this game, I hear people and I see people that maybe they get transferred here military wise, or they've only been here for a certain short period of time. And being really like a 40-year resident of Virginia Beach and Southampton Roads, you can't really put a valuation on that, man. Right. I mean, I just met and picked up a listing yesterday from a girl that I went to kindergarten with. I went over to her house and we had gone through kindergarten, middle school, high school. We were laughing. I was like, man, I've known you for like 38 years. And so those pop up. That doesn't hurt. She came out of the blue. And it's good, man. It's good.
All right. When we come back, I want to talk about that first year in business for you and the things that you've done to grow your business. And then we're going to get into the Facebook page, the animal that has become. So we'll be right back with Todd Morton. Do you love helping clients buy and sell houses but hate the back-end paperwork? Then don't do it. Let my friend Amy Buchanan with MRE Assist handle it for you. Amy handles all the details from contract ratification to closing, including scheduling inspections, verifying contract compliance, coordination between the parties, including those pesky loan officers from other companies that don't keep you in the loop, sending weekly updates, and contingency deadline reminders. If you are ready to stop spending your time on 80% of the business that doesn't make you any money and start focusing on the 20% that does, then give my friend Amy Buchanan a call at 703-942-9802 or shoot her an email at amy@mreassist.com. That's Amy at mreassist.com. Make sure you tell her Tanner sent you. Well, welcome back, everyone. So, Todd, let's talk about the first year in business. You brought on a pandemic by becoming a realtor full-time. You're now decided to do this full-time real estate agent. This breaks out. Everybody's like scrambling. What am I going to do? How are we going to sell real estate anymore? You basically brand new while you had your license before. It is now basically, okay, I'm now doing this. How did that go? What did you do first?
First, I went, oh no, right? As some explicit is. I started a little bit early. I started with the real estate group here. They have an office in Chesapeake and one in Virginia Beach. And they had a really extensive new agent training program, which I still hold a lot of respect towards, even though I'm not with that brokerage anymore. They really laid the proper foundation for a new agent. It was a 4-week training class every single day before you were really allowed to go out and into the field. Smart. So I had passed my test and I said, well, let me get started with this while we're waiting for my license to come in. That was great. So this was February of 2020, right? Okay. So on February 29th or February 28th, there is no 29th, Tanner. That was a trick question. I think my license came
Some
in,
call
right?
it March 1st, but I'm with you. Go ahead.
Right. Yeah. Maybe March 1st. I think it was the last day of February. My license comes in, so I'm ecstatic. The class is ending. I'm like, I've already got appointments set up. I'm ready to roll.
Nice.
You know? And so also I had signed on to do a couple open houses for some folks in my brokerage. And so I was doing that. So I think the first week of March or the second week, I'm in an open house down in Chicks Beach, beautiful home. And I get a phone call and they're like, shut it down.
No open house.
Yeah. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, COVID is here. No more open house. And I'm like, oh God.
Wow. Okay.
And I just left my corporate job and I'm like, oh, this massive pandemic. I'm like, I've just made the worst mistake of my life. I've got to go back. I've got to go get my other job back. This is horrible timing. Yada. So immediately I'm like hitting the panic button because I didn't have like a line of people waiting for me to get my license that were like, as soon as you get licensed, I'm going to buy a house. That wasn't my story. So I immediately went into my broker and I was like, look, I think I need to sign up for like the leads program they had. And they were like, all right, cool. Here's the deal. It's a heavy split, right? Not really in favor of the agent, but in their defense, they were handing you the leads. So many of real estate leads, though, most of them were horrible, sifting through all the crap to find that diamond, right? Which I'd been in sales before. And so it wasn't really a whole lot crazy new, but different. So I signed up for that. And so I was getting leads with them. And I did that first year, I think I did 4 of their leads and I did 4 of my own. So I sold 8 houses that first year from March to December. And what I didn't realize that when I signed up for their lead package kind of deal was the half that I did on my own that I generated, they were also still at that heavy split. And so I said, well, damn. it was great because I got 4 transactions under my belt that I wouldn't have had. But I was like, ooh, I want to keep my money. So I was like, well, let me get off of this. And then that following year, 2021, obviously still pandemic ridden, but then obviously quantitative easing, the rates went down to 2%, 2.5%, and it was just gangbusters.
Yep. So you're on the team though, but you mentioned when you got the license March 1st that you did have some kind of people that were potentially in the works and heading that way. So how were you spreading the word? Like, I've made this transition, and what were you doing to tell people?
Yeah, man, social media, dude. I jumped all over social. I had a lot of connections on LinkedIn, right? Because in my past, it wasn't really Facebook so much as it was like LinkedIn. I had probably 3,000 connections there. I was literally just going through them and sending them messages one by one, going through my phone one by one. Made sure everybody I knew that if I had your contact info, you got a message from me letting you know
that you're now a realtor.
I was now selling real estate.
The first one you got that wasn't from the lead source, how did you get it? What was the chain of events that was like, okay, they know you're a realtor, we're looking to buy. How'd that go?
Gosh, that's funny, man. I'd have to look back and see like who was my first real client that I generated on my own. I think it was a previous person that I had worked with prior.
Okay.
At an agency. They were looking at selling their house and then buying a new one. And so it was a little house out in Norfolk that we did. And so it was good. I had helped her actually find her new job. I kind of owe this guy a little bit. And so she let me come in and list their house. And then some other friends of ours were selling their house and they let me list their house for sale. And so that was cool. Yeah, man, it's just really word of mouth. I think letting people know that you're an agent and what you do in this business is crucial. There are so many what we call secret agents, right? And they're secret because they got their license, they're out there doing it, but nobody really knows. And it's like, I know the same people, I went to school with them or whatever, and the people that I talk to have no idea that person, he or she, is even in real estate.
Yep.
It's just because they're not promoting it. And in this business and in your business, the loan side of things, you have to be your own cheerleader. There is nobody, even your brokerage, right? Unless you own it, nobody's out there pumping your name. That's on you to do. And so if that part of this business, if that part scares you at all, I would definitely tell you to think twice about it because it's kind of the shameful plug. But like, I try to make it fun because it gets old of like, like I sold another house, right?
Right.
So like, I make fun of the industry. I make fun of myself. Anything that I can post that even is in the kind of the field of real estate. Right. So like I'll do a lot of memes and stuff. If it makes people laugh, great. If people think it's funny, cool. If it's offensive, sometimes, hey, all right.
Yeah.
That sometimes is okay, right? Like it's just something I think you got to do to push yourself out there and to just constantly be letting people know.
Well, I came up with kind of my 5 rules for new realtors. Let me run these by you, and then you tell me what you would kind of add to this real quick. So the first one is, like you mentioned, don't be a secret agent. That's the first one. I talked about this morning when I gave the class, have a name tag where you go somewhere within the first 5 minutes of meeting people, which was a tip that an agent gave to me. They need to know that you're a realtor and or a loan officer in my case, and strike up a conversation just like everywhere. So that's like you said, number one, they got to know you do real estate. That's how it goes. I put on there, join a team or find a qualified mentor because I find that's important, especially when you're starting off. You got to have some help. You didn't know how to write a contract the first time. It's like, write a contract. Nope. You're like, okay, what do I do? Right?
Yeah, 100%, dude. I mean, it's funny. You get your license, right? They don't even show you what the purchase contract is during your licensing. And so I had bought in real estate before. And so I had seen it, but I had never studied it. I'd never read the damn thing for sure.
Right. That's what DocuSign for.
And so, there's a lot of brokers out here right now, and I'm not calling anybody out. They just sign people up, bro. Go out and they hit the street and they don't know what's going on, man.
That's right.
They don't know what they're doing. As a listing agent, I get contracts that are miswritten, look horrible. I just look at those sometimes. And if I got competing offers, I'm like, man, well, this guy doesn't know how to properly fill out the contract. So I can only imagine what the rest of the transaction is going to look like.
Right.
So, so from a new agent, yes, I think the team aspect is a great place to start, or you need to sign up with a brokerage that has a very strong fundamental training 101. And again, while I'm not with the real estate group anymore, they offer a tremendous kind of new agent how to do an open house.
Well, that was my number 3, host as many opens as possible so you can get the reps, right?
Yeah, man. And I love that, dude. I'm a huge believer in opens. I love doing them. It's old school, right? It's kind of what the old school people will tell you. A lot of the older agents that are successful and have been at it for a long time, that's how they cut their teeth, was at the open house. It's great because it gives you an opportunity to start talking about real estate, right? And having real conversations. So the more you're out there and in the field, if you will, talking to real people about stuff, it helps, right? And you get more confidence when you're talking to people at like a listing appointment. Of like, hey, I know what I'm talking about, yada, yada. But also, it's a great way to pick up buyers. Let's not kid around or why a lot of people do them, man.
It's not for that seller, let's be honest.
A lot of people do them to catch those buyers. And like everybody who's probably done them, I've picked up a lot of buyers at open houses. And I picked them up unrepresented. And I picked them up, quite frankly, that people are there and they don't like their agent, which sucks. I'm not trying to poach anybody out there if they come to my open house by any means, but I have picked up agents who are like, I've talked to, and they've reached out to me after the open house and are like, man, you seem like a cool guy. Our agent sends us to open houses. He or she doesn't want to actually really take us anywhere. They're not really responsive. Would you take us on as clients? And I'm like, well, potentially, yeah, if you're not under an agreement, yeah.
When you're hosting an open house, I'm always interested in the way people do open houses and how they're successful at them. Now, you have 20 years sales skills. So basically, when you walk into a room, there's 5 people, you introduce yourself and you observe for a minute, you'll be able to tell me like, okay, this guy's basically, you run a disc profile, just do it, right? Naturally for you now at this point. For people that aren't familiar, that's basically like, okay, these are the high Ds over here and they just want boom action. This guy's the engineer type over here. So he's asking me like, when was the roof replaced or whatever questions the engineer guys have, right? How do you conduct an open house? What do you do for them?
The biggest thing is just getting it out there prior to the day of the open house.
Okay.
Yeah. When I first started, you definitely botched that, right? Where I didn't list it in the MLS, didn't even know that was an option. And so you're like, damn, I'm sitting at this open house for 3 hours. I'm like, you've got 4 signs out. And it's what I've learned is, man, 20 signs at Coastal is really big at that, the broker I'm at now. Even learning from agents there that are doing them, younger agents that are like, you only have 10 signs? They're like, I got 50. I'm like, wow, go for it. You know what I mean? Doing that, we pump it heavy on social. And then obviously you got to have it listed on MLS, right? But yeah, it's pretty laid back. I let people go and do their thing. I'm not following them around unless you feel like they may need that or want it. But yeah, you just let them go. I'll always encourage, I have a sign up sheet that I run off of my iPad. So it's all electronic, right? CRM. So I know that's something we're going to talk about, but it's got a photo of the house on an iPad and user friendly, like, hey, sign up. People want to know who you are and all that. Just ask name, email, phone number, and then if they're working with an agent or not, right? And so if they're not, they get dropped into the CRM. The CRM hits them after the open house automatically. Hey, thanks for coming by. Here's our info if you have any questions, that kind of stuff. And it's a good way to capture some information, get people in your database if they're not represented, and then leave it to them. I don't really hard sell too much at the open house, but they're good. I'm a big believer in them.
Are you going to the neighbors and, hey, I got an open house down the street and handing out flyers or whatever?
Yeah, man. Yeah, they call that circle marketing, right?
Okay.
And that's huge, right? Because oftentimes your neighbors want to pick their neighbor. And so they've been waiting. They want Joe and Susie, their best friends, to move into the neighborhood.
Interesting.
So their 2 kids can play together. So I want to hit those people within that direct community. I want to hit them first, probably a couple days prior to the open house with a 1-sheeter of the property and invite them to the open house, right? Because if they don't know somebody, a lot of neighbors are nosy, right? So they want to come see what Tom and Betty got going on in their house, right? They've got the same floor plan. And so they want to see, what they've done with their kitchen, things like that. It's a great way to meet people, get your name out there. If they ever decide to move, then there's a lot of times. In fact, I picked up a listing that hopefully will be going to market probably at the end of summer, where the neighbor she watched our open house over the weekend, and we probably had 50 or 60 visit on a Saturday. So it was a beautiful house in Chesapeake. So a lot of it was the house, not me.
Sure. That helps.
But they were super impressed. And they were like, and the house sold. I mean, we had 5 offers on it over the weekend. We had it under contract for 25 over. And they were like, you're going to list our house. So I was like, cool.
I like the idea of almost encouraging them, saying, hey, do you have somebody that might be interested? Because of course, everybody like to pick their neighbors. And you can say that with almost jokingly, right? And then they're like, do we really know? Maybe we do know somebody that might be interested in, because that's a good point. The idea of, not from the discriminatory standpoint, but wouldn't it be great if the Johnsons move in, because they're over here half the time anyway? Why don't you guys, this one's got a pool, whatever. So I like that pitch to the potential neighbor of, instead of just the, hey, I'm doing the open house, but just mentioning like, hey, if you got anybody, you get to pick your neighbors. So
I tell you what, too, if you're out there door knock, best way to do it, because you don't really get any pushback. No one's like, screw you, get out of here. Right. You know what I mean? It's like, hey man, I'm just inviting you over to the house. We're gonna have some cookies, come by, see what's going on. And if you know anybody, please share it, right? It's very non-confrontational. I know when I got into the business, they were talking about that was prospecting, go knock on people's door. I was like, what? I was like, I'm not doing that, man. There's got to be a better method.
Right.
I'm a digital marketing guy. I'm not going around knocking on people's doors and saying, hey, you ever thought about moving? That's still taught quite a bit. And I know people out there do it. And I praise them, man. I'm like, man, that's a tough road.
The cold knock would definitely be, but if you have the listing already and it's 5 over from this house, and you're just like, hey, I'm just letting you know we got an open house this weekend. It's going to be busy. And hey, if you know anybody looking to buy or sell, you get to pick your neighbors, and they go, oh, yeah, that's funny. It's a great pitch.
You can knock on that door with confidence.
For sure. That's a good one.
Look, I have a purpose. I'm not trying to sell you a vacuum cleaner.
Right. All right. Now, when you think about your career so far, can you think about a bold move that you made? This is one of my favorite questions. Like something you did crazy, different, etc., that you got a deal out of it. If you had not done this, you do not get that deal.
That's a great question. I hadn't done anything too crazy. Again, I was pretty fortunate. I've been blessed, really, at that. I don't want us to make it sound like this is an easy job, because it's not. I think I had a leg up on people that for starting in the industry, because I just knew a lot of people here. And it wasn't because I was popular. I was such a cool guy. It was just I'd lived here for so long. I had worked at some pretty big organizations. Most advertising we sold was local. So we were doing huge events at FM 99, golf tournaments, and Wavy was wine festivals and outings and stuff. And so you were meeting all types of people. And so that really helped. Yeah, man, I can't really think of anything crazy I did to get a deal, man. I'm up for it, though.
You'll have to get back to me on that one.
The more that are out here, you got to find a way to like differentiate yourself from the rest of the market, because it is like, what are you going to do versus the next guy?
Right.
I was at a meeting the other day, and my broker, Jerry Todd, he says it's a race to the bottom right now. And that really rung true, because what he means by that was that there are so many agents out here that are just discounting the hell out of the service, right? And so when that starts happening, it really can become a huge problem. And there are spots in like South Florida where they don't list property at 6%. It's 5%, because it's just become the norm. I see a lot of that happen, and I find that it discredits the industry a little bit, because there's just so much discounting of services going on, and then you're battling that objection more than anything. I met with somebody else, they're going to do it for 1%. Yeah, that's not me, man. I'm not doing it.
Right.
So I walk away from business like that.
It's definitely having the podcast all over the state, coming from the Fredericksburg area and starting to grow all over the state. I definitely see that, and it is a problem. And one of the things that is unique about Virginia Beach that I've experienced is that more often than not, though, people stick to that 3 and 3, right? So buyer seller, which I hear what you're saying, but at least for the most part, it seems like that's what I see.
Yeah, for the most part, right? Like you run into deals and I just take them as I get them, right? I don't complain about it if the seller commission is lower than 3. It just happens, man. I'm doing a deal right now on a FSBO that I'm not getting paid at all. I'm making some of the money up when I go to list at my client's house. They're letting me overcharge them, if you will, a little bit, just because I'd worked with them for a year showing houses. And lo and behold, they find a house from a lady that goes to their church and mom died and has got the perfect condo and she's not paying anybody. What do you do? So, of course I say, no problem. I'm going to help you guys. I facilitate the whole transaction. You don't get paid. But one thing when you get into commission that will burn you the most is when the listing agent takes the full 3 and gives the buyer's agent less.
Right.
And you're like, so you offered these guys a discount and you pass it on to me. I see what's going on here.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I do not do. If I do lower my listing commission, I eat it. I don't pass it on to my fellow buyer's agents out here because I know it's tough, man. There's nothing worse than working with somebody for a year, showing them 100 houses, and the one they want to buy has got a 2% kickback on you. And you're like, damn.
It's pretty weak, especially since that agent could have just got that like 2 days later from a referral or something like that earlier. Yeah. So it's tough. Yeah, it's tough. All right, let's talk about the one I've been teasing this for a little bit. So there is a Facebook group that I am a member of, and I'm looking at the stats right now. There are 25,300 members of the Facebook group We Love VB, for locals by locals. Yeah. Now, this Facebook group, the administrator is you. So I don't know if you have anybody else, but this is like your group. Did this start when you got to 10? Then you're like, holy cow, we got 100 people. And then you're at 1,000. Man. Then you cross 10. What is going on here?
It is crazy, man. Thanks for bringing it up, though. Yep. It's super cool, man. I get stopped in public a lot of times. We've got shirts you can see it here on this one.
Yep.
Like, I'll make sure I'll send you one of these so you can sport it now.
That's a logo too, by the way. So for the listeners, it says we on one word. It's got a heart with a wave in it, and it's a very cool color scheme, and then BB on the other side. So it's a professional logo. That's like the brand, right? For this page.
I'll tell you a quick story, man. That logo, we basically ran a contest on the page, right? Hey, we need a logo. We're going to give a $50 gift certificate to whoever comes up with the best one.
Okay.
And so we got like probably 12 submissions, right?
Okay.
Of like really good logos, man.
Right.
We got some really cool ones. And then we put it on the page and let the people vote on it. And that's how that logo came to be.
Nice.
And yeah, man. And so it was pretty cool. But yeah, man, I started that page, right? Selfishly, I was in a real estate training class and it was some social media guru. I use that term with air quotes, right? Guru. And he was from Wisconsin, was talking about ways to build your sphere and build your community page. And he was like, here's one that I've had for 8 years. And it's called We Love Madison. And he was from Madison, Wisconsin, right? And he was like, I've got 800 members on this thing, and we do events and all this stuff, and that's great. And I was like, man, that's awesome. So I was like, quick search. I'm a digital guy, right? So this is right up my alley. I'm like, is there anything like this, right? So I started looking, and there's a page about Virginia Beach, right? That's what hotel should I stay in when I come to the beach, right? Well, that wasn't what I was trying to do. I was trying to make it more localized, right? Like for the people here. And so I built it right then during the training. He's talking about his page and I'm building mine.
Hold on. During the training.
Yeah, man.
You're like, hold on. Go back to page 3 on your slide there.
Yeah.
What's the subject again?
Yeah, exactly. Like, how do I do this part? By the end of the training, I had like 400 people on the page. And so I was like, what the hell? I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow. I was like hoping if I could get like 25 people or something.
Right.
Like, it took this guy 8 years to get to like 800. And I'm thinking like, oh, this is going to be a slow crawl.
Right.
You know? And so then I start posting stuff on it. And I start inviting people and people start following it. And then I'm like, oh man, wouldn't it be cool if we got to 1,000? And so I'm like, hey, follow this page. Help me get to 1,000. Well, man, like it just exploded. And next thing I know, I was like, let's get to 5,000, man. How cool would that be? And then it was 10 and now it's 25,000. It's really cool, man. I mean, I get stopped, like I said, by people who know me or know about the page. And they'll be like, man, I love that page, dude. I find out so much stuff about Virginia Beach and we try to do some funny stuff on there. But yeah, it's just me. I'm the only admin. It's a lot, man. If you've ever run a page, like a public page like that, of trying to keep out the spam is a full-time gig, dude.
Yeah.
It's a time suck.
And that's what I figured. So when we come back, I want to talk about that part. And so we're going to talk about where your career's at now, like how you're managing the page, recommendations for people on the page, stuff like that. So we'll be right back with Todd Morton. Hey everybody, it's Tanner Mulvihill with Bayfield Home Loans. Well, 2023 is here, and if you haven't done so yet, it's time to take a good long look in the mirror and ask yourself an honest question. Is your loan officer helping you succeed? For example, are they bringing you new marketing ideas? Do they actively try to generate referrals from the clients you send to them? Or even better, are they sending you business? My philosophy is business should be a two-way street, and I do my best to make it that way. If that sounds like something you're interested in, please give me a call or shoot me a text to 540-850-6267. Let's get together for coffee. Once again, that number is 540-850-6267. Talk to you soon. Well, welcome back, everyone. So, Todd, all right, so you got this page that goes from 0 to 25,000 members. I'm not sure where I can find it, but I probably can on here where it shows when it was posted. Do you remember, like, when you made this page? Created 3 years ago, it says. So you're sitting in this class. You're just like, I'm going to create this page. And just give people an idea, we got 11 new posts a day, 301 in the last month, and here we are in June. So people are commenting, posting. You got your no political agenda, just stuff like that. So what have been the pluses and the minuses of this page that you created?
Yeah, man, it's so wild. So yeah, we try to limit the posts on it to about 10 a day. I probably get 40 or 50 submissions a day.
Interesting. So it's a limit. You're cherry picking a little bit, like, okay, this can go on there, this one's not. Okay.
Which is really tough, right? Yeah. Because you certainly don't want to discriminate against anybody, right? Or think like, oh, well, no one's going to be interested in this particular topic because I might not be interested in it. When, quite frankly, the demo of Facebook is heavily skews female, right? So I have to constantly be thinking, like, someone posted about like sewing classes, and I'm thinking, like, who's sewing? Like, who does that? And do people even do that anymore? Yeah, right. Like, do they even sell sewing machines? So I'm like, well, I don't know. I post it and then like 25 people like it. And it's like, oh, well, okay. But I try to have some pretty standard rules. So like nothing outside of Virginia Beach. We don't allow anything outside of Virginia Beach. So we'll get people that, as much as I love my neighbors, right, in Chesapeake and Norfolk, and there's great stuff out there, restaurants and things, we don't allow it. And it helps because that cuts down. If somebody sends me something from Norfolk, I'm just like, yeah, we don't do it. Right. Yeah, man, it gets a little wild. Obviously, it's not my full-time job, right? Social media page manager. And so I'll get busy, right? And I go back and I'll have 25 post submissions. And that gets really tough because you can't just approve 20 post submissions. You could, but they would all dump at one time. It would drive people crazy. But the other thing is just the spam. It's so bad on social in general of bots. They come in and we've got two very simple security questions, like to comment or post, you've got to name a high school on VB and you've got to agree to the rules. And so we cut out a lot there, but you'd be surprised, man, of just how much garbage people will try to post to the page. And then also people that just take advantage of it. I have restaurants, I'm not going to call anybody out here, but they'll send me their breakfast, lunch, dinner, you know what I mean? I'm like, hey man, this isn't your restaurant page. This is supposed to be more for maybe once or twice a month, man. You got something special going on or you got a new thing going, you know, let's do it then, but not, hey, Monday's special is this. Here's my Tuesday special. Here's my Wednesday special. It's like, all right, dude, like no meing is number one rule. So it's like, don't overdo it. If I see you more than I see me, there's a problem.
Right. So when you set up the page, now let's talk about getting business personally for the page. Now, are you the only agent on the page? Are there other realtors on this page? How's that go?
Yeah, man. So I'm the only agent on the page, right?
Right.
And so I look at it like I wouldn't go post my advertisements on Bayfield Home Loans, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's my page. I built it. So yeah, man, I got a pretty hard policy of that. If you're a realtor, if it's a VB listing, right? I'll share your post, but I'm probably going to share it under my stuff saying like, look, I'll give you credit for it. Like, hey, listed by, and there's multiple reasons for that. One, it takes a lot of my time to run this thing, right?
Right.
So if I let it open to one agent, I've got to let it open to everybody. Yep. You know what I mean? And so if I let it open to everybody, now it becomes a real estate page and it's not,
right.
You know what I mean? It's a page about Virginia Beach and I don't want to turn it into a blast about every Tom, Dick, and Harry's listing that they got in Virginia Beach. You know what I mean? I feel bad about that, right? I've gotten complaints and arguments from other agents that are like, yeah, what's the deal here? And I'm like, well, can I post my services on your page?
Right.
They're like, no, I'm like, well, that's what you're asking me to do. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It totally makes sense. Now, have you been able to get business directly from it and build out kind of your referral network for contractors and anybody you need something for?
Yeah, 100%. I haven't gotten like a ton of business from the page itself, right? And probably because I honestly, man, I don't really promote myself probably as much as I should on it.
Okay.
I started to do a little more, but I think there becomes that fine line of like the page is morphed and grown into something bigger than me, right? And so I wanted to keep that kind of organic Virginia Beach thing and not to be me. Like, I sell houses, I sell houses, I sell houses.
Right.
But yeah, I have got business from it. The easiest way is sometimes people will submit a post and say, hey, does anybody know a good realtor?
You're like, yeah, I do.
So I normally decline those posts, and then I reach out to them directly and say, hey, I just got your post. I'm going to save you from getting attacked by 500
cheerleading
realtors.
squad.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
They say, if you're ever feeling lonely, just go on social media and post you need a realtor. You'll get inundated. So
not wrong.
Yeah, man.
And loan officers. Don't worry. You got plenty of friend loan officers too.
Yeah. Sometimes I've let some of them fly just because like I'm not taking on a new client or something maybe at the time. It's funny to watch, man, because it's like pigeons at the beach. It's like one piece of bread. And they're like, they come out. But, I get it, though, man. I mean, I get it because it's hard to find new clients. It is. You hope to talk about it a little bit on here is lead gen, right? It's like, how do you get business in this business? And that's tough. It's tough. And so I give credit to everybody that are out there hustling and trying, following social media and following tag words and different groups and stuff like that, because you got to get out there, man, to get it. You really do.
When we come back, I want to talk about that because lead generation and database management are so important. And it's for any successful agent. It's got to be something you do on a regular basis. It's a religion. It becomes what you have to do every single day, the repetition of it. So we'll be right back.
Tanner Mulvihill, NMLS number 276814.
Welcome back, everyone. We're going to talk about right now lead generation database management. I talk to agents all over the state. I told you I was in Fredericksburg earlier today, and there's a lack of listings. Now, since you've gotten in the business in Virginia Beach, and even in like Virginia Beach, I'm hearing it is less than it has been in the past. Is that what you are seeing as well, that the inventory is down?
Oh, 100%. It's really a national thing.
For sure.
It's not really us. I mean, obviously, a coastal community like Virginia Beach, we have a severe problem, but a lot of people do. A lot of people do.
It really comes down to the interest rates. Right? Because if everybody's sitting on 2.5s and 2.75s and 2.25s, then the alternative is when they talk to me and I'm like, it's 6. And they're like, ugh. It's a little tough. So
I definitely think that's part of it, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it's the only thing, but it's a huge part of it, right? Is that's bottlenecking the turnover, if you will, right? So the guy who's in the $300,000 to $500,000 house, right? Obviously, the American dream, right, is you sell, you move up. You sell, you move up, right? That's really hard to do right now because you got people that are in, let's say, a $300,000 house at a 2.5. Well, that $500,000 at a 6.5, is double.
For sure. I always say, like, nobody wants to move for a 30% better house that's 3 times more expensive than their current mortgage payment, right?
Exactly right.
That needs to get back more to equal. If it's like 30% better house, 50% higher payment, okay, whatever. That's tough window. Now, with lead generation, though, what are you specifically doing to generate your next clients? How are you getting your clients right now?
Great question. I can't tell everybody, Tanner, because then I'm not going to have any business.
Fair enough.
I'm joking.
Fair enough.
No, you know what I love about this industry, man, is there's so many people out here that have been doing it and are doing it great, and they share. It's really nice to see because it's hard, dude, and a lot of it's trial and error. As an advertising guy, I spent a lot of money in the first couple of years, man, because I was just like, oh, cool, yeah, this is what I did in a previous life. Like, you're doing it for this industry, like, I'll sign up for it. My girlfriend laughed. She's like, is there anything you're not buying? I've sold 2 houses, man. I've spent 10 grand, you know what I mean? I'm like, I've spent my money quicker than it's coming in. Yeah. Here's what I'll say. 96% of lead generation services out there are bogus. They are horrible Mickey Mouse leads, and you'll go broke before you get good at it. The leads aren't qualified. They're just a dime a dozen people that fill out info online, and they really don't remember what they filled out.
Well, it could be too, because generally the stats say that they're going to 9 different pages, right? They start at Zillow, then they go to realtor.com, and then they're on to somewhere else, and they're on some agent's page, and that's how they get to fill out 9 things and get 9 phone calls. So
Yeah, man.
Sure.
So you get a lot of that, right? So by the time even that lead comes to you, they've been beaten up 6 ways to Sunday because they've filled out and the lead got sold to 8 different people. Yep. Those are just garbage, man. And so when I worked in advertising, we did a lot of lead gen for companies, right? And we did them a lot through Facebook and through Instagram and things like that. And so I do a lot of that stuff myself.
Okay.
Where I build it myself and we run them. They're top funnel leads is what I call them, right? So they are just maybe getting started, right? So they are oftentimes a year to 2 years out. You talk to realtors, man, they want the lead that's
he's at the 30
door,
days.
He's at the door of the sign and has got his cash money in duffel bag and he's ready to buy, right? That's a lead. I know a lot of people that sell a lot of houses and they're doing Zillow. More power to you, but I'm not paying 35% of my commission to get a lead. It's just not worth it at the end of the day to me. So we're doing Facebook ads and we're getting leads under $5 a piece, right? So I mean, I've got probably 3,000 leads in my database right now. The way we do it is we'll do different ad campaigns like sign up to receive waterfront property listings in Virginia Beach. So it's very basic. People go, they raise their hand, they click the button, here's your name, your email, your phone number, and they immediately get set up to receive listing updates for waterfront property in Virginia Beach.
Right.
No price gap on them. It's wide open. If it falls under waterfront, somebody check that box, waterfront, and that's the agent, right? Whoever listed the thing, which you'll see some questionable ones like, wait, correct. That's not waterfront.
That was just a heavy rain that you counted as waterfront in the backyard. Come on now.
That is not water. So we just start sending them properties. And with a good CRM, you can track that. Tanner signed up yesterday and Tanner's come to the site every day for the last 30 days. And he's looking at $800,000 properties, right? Well, we might want to give Tanner a phone call.
We might. That's right. That's right.
Yeah. See how serious Tanner is, right? And so a lot of times, again, Tanner is just looking at houses, man. Tanner has no intention of buying a house. He loves to look at houses, though, online. And there's a lot of people out there. They like to look at nice houses that they can't afford, right? But yeah, man, that is a slow but inexpensive way to really grow your database. These quick things, and every realtor gets these, right? Of these lead gen. I mean, it's incessant. Texts, emails, phone calls. We're selling leads. We're selling leads. We're selling leads. I haven't found one that worked.
Let me jump in then and talk a little bit about something that I do that's a little bit different than the average loan officer, because we're talking about leads and referrals, and everybody knows your closing rate. It doesn't matter how good you are at lead. What's your best case? 3%, 5%? Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
If, right? Whereas referrals are a different animal. So somebody sends you a referral. My thing has been for the last basically 6 months, when an agent sends me a referral, how can I figure out, turn that referral into another referral from that referral? So for me, that starts with making sure that I'm asking for the business for the realtor that I'm working with. The realtor sent me the client. Joe's looking to buy a house. I'm asking Joe for the agent, hey, Joe, who do you have that's looking to buy or sell coming up? Because everybody in this business right now, there are so many leads. We need to figure out how to generate the referrals.
100%.
That comes down to communication. So it's the same thing with your home inspector. It's the same thing with your title companies. Everybody needs to be focused on, okay, how can we work together? We have a referral to make this referral another.
No, yeah, you're exactly right. And I mean, one thing that joining at Coastal this year is talking to my broker over there. He's like, you have such a big sphere, right? From living here. And he said, stop spending money on strangers. Start spending money on your sphere.
Yeah.
And that's huge, right? So whether that's events, doing things of that, when I get a referral, whoever sent me that referral gets taken care of. I'm not paying cash or anything like that, so don't send me to Depor. But they're getting noticed. I'm sending them a gift certificate to go eat somewhere nice. I appreciate that, man, because those aren't leads. That's business. Yeah. When you get a referral, you don't go to the appointment typically and are like, hey, here's why I'm great and here's why you should pick me. That decision's already been made, right? Because Susie referred you. My best friend referred me to you. I'm using you. Just that's it. Yeah. So as an advertising guy, there is no better advertising than word of mouth. And how do you get those? Well, it's what you just said. You got to ask, right?
Yep.
And a lot of people have a problem asking for that.
It's a skill set that every agent that's listening needs to practice. And to get to that next level, it just becomes natural.
Yeah.
And it's no longer where you're like, okay, I got to remember to ask for the business. It's something that you're able to slip in and do consistently. One of the things that I do with my coaching program that I'm in, the core, is that what we call our greatness tracker. When I have a phone call with somebody, I need to circle when I've asked them for the business. Then I can go, okay, I did some spot in the conversation. I slipped in, hey, do you know anybody that's looking to buy or sell coming up right now? And they're like, oh,
Yep.
but I'll definitely keep you in mind. And then you keep rolling with whatever the questions are. But I circle it that I had that conversation. When you look at the numbers at the end of the day, like if I talk to 60 people in a week and I'm able to circle 30, I'm like, all right, pretty good job. And the guys that are above me, they're more like a 90% clip.
Yeah. The really good people do it really well, man.
Yeah.
And it's something that I need to get better at because it's really what'll keep you last, like what'll keep you around. And I did hear, I'll share this with you.
Yeah.
How you just asked, do you know anybody that's looking to buy or sell, right? It was something you said, right? Do you know? The quick answer to that is either yes or no. Do you know someone? No, I don't. So I heard this a while back, something I want to use. Instead of saying, do you know, it's who do you know? Because now that's not a yes or no question, right? Now it's who do you know that's looking to buy or sell in the next 6 months? No. Well, what?
Right.
Like,
right,
it doesn't
right.
make sense. Right?
They'll say like,
So
I don't know anybody right now. If I do come across anybody, then I'll make sure and pass them along. Or they may say, yeah, I do. The Johnsons are getting ready to sell. Right.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. Open-ended question versus a closed-ended question.
There's a book called Exactly What to Say for Real Estate Agents, which I've started reading. And that's one of the things they talk about is turning the language.
Yeah, man. Open-ended questions versus closed-ended, right? Like that's like sales 101.
Yep.
You know, that probably a lot of people, I hate to judge or say anything, but I don't know, you know, what a lot of people's backgrounds are, right? Like when I got in this business, I came from like 20 years of hardcore sales. Your names were on a board. You saw like, man, you were either first or
six. Last month, you were a bust, all that stuff. Yep.
So like that doesn't really happen so much in a lot of, at least what I see a lot of brokers where there's not that sales recognition going on. And I don't know, my last brokerage did none of it at all. This brokerage that I'm with now at Coastal, they do a little bit of it, which is nice. So we have a monthly meeting and they're giving out some sort of recognition for salespeople, which is nice. As an old school sales guys, I was always like, oh, look at me.
Right. If you're a competitive person, you want to be able to see where you're at on the board and see whether you need to step up your game or whatever.
Yeah, 100%.
That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, there's not a lot of that happens though in this industry. I find it a little strange, but they have like the circle of excellence and stuff like that, which is great. I really enjoy that. So it's a nice thing.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's finish this one off. My favorite part about the podcast is asking agents their best story. So it's like whether it's a funny story, a scary story, a crazy story, just anything that they've run into in the real estate field. Go ahead. The floor is yours. What is your best story for me?
I love it, man. There's so many good ones, and I'm sure there's been so many that you've heard because this is such a crazy business, right? Probably one of the funniest ones that I have was I sold a house out in Pungo, right? So if you're new to Virginia Beach, Tanner, that's like Southeast VB, man. It's the country out there, right?
Okay.
Like chickens running around and all types of stuff's going on out there. But there's a lot of septic tanks, right? So that's something we don't really run into in the city, right?
Right.
Virginia Beach and Norfolk and that sort of thing. Chesapeake a little bit, but not so much. Anyway, so this is my first septic deal, right? So like, oh man, I got to go. I want to check this out. I want to go to the inspection. These guys are from Pungo and they're out there in their knee-high boots because they actually dig and they open up the septic tank and there's like 5 of these old country boys hanging out. And they're like, man, you ever open up one of these side, you know, you find out a lot about a person. I was like, oh yeah. He's like, you could tell if a woman's got a lot of makeup, the tank will be all oily. I was like, wow. I said, no, that's crazy. He's like, yeah, that makeup corrodes the tank and it'll turn it into like an oil almost. And I said, wow, that's crazy. He said, I'll tell you, he said, I went to one guy's, we did one of these, it got clogged and it needed a pump out, he told me. And I said, oh yeah. He says, yeah. So we dug it up and we found a bunch of prophylactics in there. And I said, oh, okay. He said, you know what I'm talking about? I said, yes, sir, I do. And he said, so I went up to the door and I told the husband, I said, hey, I found out the problem. We found all these prophylactics in your septic tank. You can't flush those down the toilet. He said, prophylactic? He said, I've been married 20 years, man. I've never used any prophylactics. And so he found out the hard way while he was at work. Somebody else had been using the prophylactics at his house. That was probably the funniest story I heard today.
Oh, man, that's pretty good.
what you want to hear.
That's right. That's septic issue, and now we got a house going up for sale and a divorce.
That's right.
But the good news is that you would have been able to find, obviously, you as a real estate agent, the divorce attorney on We Love Virginia Beach for locals by locals, and everybody will win. So there you go.
My other good one is one of my first showings. I hit the garage door to show these people the garage. I just punched the door button. The garage fell completely off the rafters.
Oh,
the whole door just crumbled, fell off the thing.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, it was tough.
Thankfully, nobody So wait, you hit the button or you hit
I hit the button. Just
on the wall, just like, all right, this is how you open the garage.
Let's open it. And it went about halfway up and the whole thing fell off the track onto the ground.
Holy cow.
Completely. I was like,
yep.
Did I do that?
That's right. Hopefully no ring cam as you spread some of the other agent cards.
Yeah, we called the agent right away. It was like, man, we got a problem. You have a problem. I'm leaving.
Well, Todd, I appreciate you coming on the show. Just love the journey of the Facebook page and just the conversation with you. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Yeah, man. We got to play golf sometime soon. And I'll hook you up with a We Love VB shirt, man. Thanks so much, Tanner. I love what you're doing.
Let's do it. Well, that's it for this episode of the Virginia is for Realtors podcast. If you're a realtor looking for a loan officer you can count on to follow up with the leads you send, keep you updated on the transaction every step of the way, and get you to the closing table on time, give me a call. I'd love the opportunity to sit down with you for coffee to learn more about your business and how we can make it even better. Until next time, this is Tanner Mobihill on the Virginia is for Realtors podcast.